Hey, I'm Kimberly with Elixir Mentor. Jacob recently added recruitment services to help companies hire pre-vetted Elixir devs. I help with company outreach, so if you're hiring, I may be reaching out, or you can connect with us anytime at elixirmentor.com.
Secure your Elixir apps with Paraxial.io. From code analysis and bot defense to dependency checks, they've got you covered. Elixir first design with GitHub integration. Elevate your security at Paraxial.io. Testing. What's up? I'm Jacob Litzo, your Elixir mentor, and welcome to another exciting episode of the Elixir Mentor podcast. This is where we discuss everything related to Elixir, from interviews with enthusiasts, pioneers in the community, to innovative projects and libraries shaping Elixir's future. Today, I'm joined by Nathan Hessler. He's an Elixir developer and organizer of the ExMex conference in Austin. He joins us to discuss pulling off his first conference, scaling teams, and building healthy engineering cultures. Welcome, Nathan. It's good to have you on. I'm stoked to have you on as a guest.
Thanks. Yeah, looking forward to the conversation.
Yeah, I think it's gonna be a good one. And I don't get to meet a lot of my podcast guests in person, and I just got to meet Nathan in person. What was it, like 2 weeks ago now?
Yeah, it feels like so much longer ago, but it was just ago.
Yeah. So I attended ExMex, and it's nice. I really enjoy like the single track, smaller conferences, because I feel like you get a chance to kind of talk with everyone that's attending, and I just feel like there's like, I don't know, more like community building involved.
Yeah, I think that's 100% accurate. I like, just by the numbers, that makes a lot of sense, right? Like, we had 65 people there. 65 people you can meet in 2 days. When you
Hmm.
go to ElixirConf, which, just to be clear, I love ElixirConf. I've been 10 times now, so love it. But when there are 400 people, you cannot meet 400 people in 2 days. And so you almost just don't try, right? Like, whereas 65 people you do. There's also like that shared experience where everybody's in a single track and everybody's, it's there's not, I don't know, it's just different, and they both have their values, and I don't want to take anything away from ElixirConf. I do love it, but I do think the regional conference thing is unique and special.
Yeah, I think there's a place for both of them, right?
Yeah, for sure.
I do have to still make it to ElixirConf. I tried to do the Lisbon one, and I got sick the morning of my flight, so I had to
Mm.
cancel everything last minute. And
Hopefully you got travel insurance.
kind of partially covered. Half that trip went out the window, but
I'm
um,
hesitant to buy it usually as well.
yeah, because it's like, well, of course I'm going, and then you don't take into account just being deathly ill minutes before your flight.
Exactly.
So let's start off with the basics. Talking about your conference and all the planning into it. The name XMEX.
Yeah.
Where's that coming from, and what made you go with it?
Um, yeah, so you know where this started? I was looking for a name, and I was like, oh, this should be something AI would be great at. So I hopped into ChatGPT, and it's the worst. It's the worst at kind of like fun, quirky, if you know names kind of stuff. I think XMEX is an if you know name. The first name I came up with was for a Ruby conference, and I'm about to launch it. Just bury that one, but it's called RBQ. Um, the extension for Ruby is RB. Barbecue is pretty popular in Austin and in Texas. That's a well-known thing. So, like, kind of that, if you put it together, you take the B off, you've got RBQ. And that was just like kind of lit that little spark of inspiration in my head. And I started thinking about like what food in Texas/Austin has EX in it. And I was like, oh, Tex-Mex. Oh, this works perfectly. We'll just take the T off Tex-Mex like we took the B off barbecue. Hence X-Mex.
Perfect. I love it. I uh I got it right away. My girlfriend didn't get it. I had to explain it to her.
It's very much if you know, you know. I told it to my girlfriend thinking this is gonna be awesome. She's gonna love it. And she's like, that's what? I don't, yeah, exactly.
Is it in Mexico? No.
I did have somebody reach out and ask me that.
Oh, we got Brian Cardarella on. He goes, ExMex sounded like it was a good time. It was. It was fun.
It was a really good time. I was, I think you saw it. I was very happy with the outcome
Yeah,
and the
it was
feedback.
good. Brian, I was actually just talking to Nathan before we went live about beads and how awesome of a library, I guess you would call it a library it is. It's the coolest thing. I've been using it for all my projects now, and I should just link it in the show notes. But it's basically just for tracking your LLM context and like issues on an SQLite database inside your project. It's pretty dope.
I'm I was surprised to see it was from Steve and Yeg. Like that guy goes way back. Very cool dude.
OG. Um,
Yep. He wrote
so
the JavaScript mode for Emacs, or the most modern one,
oh, okay, that's
if I
cool.
recall correctly.
That's really awesome. So, wait, I feel like I forgot to ask you to kind of tell us your background and what you do in the Elixir world and like previous roles and things like that. I think that'd be good to know.
Sure.
Hey, we
Um,
got Owen on too.
oh, nice. Hey, Owen.
Yeah. Yeah.
Um, let's see. Quick story is, or the quick version, you feel welcome to dig in if you want, or pause or whatever. Um, I've been in the industry for about 20 years. Started out at right out of college, about 6 months out of college, I found out about Ruby, um, and just fell head over heels for that language. It felt like an approachable Lisp to me. Like Lisp was kind of, this academic, high academic thing that I understood to some degree, but could never quite write full programs in. I could write little algorithms in, but got lost in the bigger context. And Ruby felt like it had similar features like metaprogramming, but in a way that what my head wrapped around very easily with OO and all that fun stuff. So it just, and the kind of the naming of things, the developer happiness. So I really fell into it. I did that for, well, I guess 10 plus years, or I guess we're even closer to like 15 or 16 at this point. Most of that was spent, working up the ladder as an developer, engineer, senior engineer, tech lead kind of stuff, and then got into management, which is a whole new career. Uh, it's kind of like starting over, but you have to have the context of all those previous years to even get to to be able to do it. And I got into management, senior manager, director at different companies. Most of that in the Ruby world, but when Elixir came out, I was just telling this to somebody yesterday or recently. Elixir felt like the obvious predecessor, or the not predecessor. To think I'm the next. It felt like the obvious next step
I
to
feel
me.
like that's pretty typical for the Ruby community,
And
right?
coming from Lisp and having loved that, I understood functional programming. I have an affinity for that. So I do believe I'm biased. But when I kind of expressed my belief that Elixir was the next thing, all the people that loved Ruby for the reasons I loved Ruby were like, nah, I disagree, and we just weren't interested. And that was
Yeah.
really shocking to me. Um, but Ruby was where I was at, and that's where things were for me. And as a manager, I wasn't writing code, so it wasn't super important. But I early got into the Elixir community. So, attending meetups, I think I started the DC Elixir, not I think I did, started the DC Elixir meetup, handed that off. I think it's still going to this day.
That's
Um,
awesome.
and then, went to like trainings early on. I didn't go to the first couple Elixir comps, but have been going for, I think I've been to 10 now. Um, and only recently actually got into Elixir kind of professionally as a paid gig. Um, got a job at the Score and did that for a little bit, and learned a ton there about Elixir and kind of how to do that at scale. Um, and doing it as a consultant now. and building personal projects and so forth in Elixir.
That's awesome. Cool. Thank you for your little backstory. Yeah, so different from you though, Elixir was my first functional language, and it was hard to move from the OOP land to like immutability and things. But then once it clicked, I was like, I wish I started here because I struggled so hard to understand object-oriented programming when I first started. And just transforming and passing things along and not changing magic state that could be stored somewhere else just makes so much more sense to me.
Yeah, I I'm in a similar boat. Like the first thing I learned was like, I'm definitely a lot older, so it was like QBasic and Pascal, which are procedural but proto OO thing. Plus plus was an OO thing. So learning that took a while, and then learning functional was a little bit of a mind shift, a brain shift. But I've heard that like if you learn functional first, it's actually quite easy, and OO feels completely broken, right? Like if you learn Elixir or Lisp or some of these other functional languages, getting into OO can be really difficult because it does so many unexpected things, all those side effects and stuff.
Yeah, yeah, no, so many growing pains. I remember, well, I got into tech pretty late. Like I didn't start learning how to program until I was like 30.
Oh wow,
And I started with Java, which was horrible.
the worst.
And
Not
then
it's not
moved
the worst, but
into, and then that was like right around when Swift came out. So I started learning Swift, and that was like where everything started clicking. I think it's just because I enjoyed the syntax so much more, and it was fun to write. And then like that's the same feeling I got when I found Elixir too. Like it was just fun to write.
hmm my understanding of Swift, not having written it myself, is that it has several inspirations from Ruby, like code blocks, um,
Mm,
and that
okay.
stuff comes out of the kind of the Ruby syntax.
I feel like I have to go and learn Ruby just so I understand the similarities between Ruby and Elixir and other languages.
I I do think learning different languages is very helpful. I don't think you have to go like super deep on each one. You don't have to be an expert on each one,
Yeah.
but kind of understanding the mental model of each language can really change how you write your own, right? Like it might help. It might show you how not to do things in your own language. I think just learning different languages is a really powerful thing, just even if
Yeah,
it's at a hobby level.
I used to do it a lot more, in my younger ambitious days, and now it's so nice not to context switch. But I
Fair
agree
enough.
with you. It is good. And I probably should do more of it because I feel like you just get so comfortable. And then it also makes you less open to changing to something that's better that could come out in the future.
Yeah, I think uh, one of the things that is a pet peeve for me is when somebody tells me they're a senior blank developer, like I'm a senior Java developer, or a senior Ruby developer. Uh, it's frustrating because it means you and I don't think this is true. You're saying you don't know other things. Or like when I think of a senior developer, I think of somebody who can learn something new quickly and apply it and move forward. Not so much that they have a certain level of knowledge of a certain language. That
Yeah.
doesn't feel convertible to me. It doesn't feel
Well,
transferable to me.
I feel like language is actually less important when you step into senior and above, right? It's more how do you write code, how do you architect code, and syntax can be looked up. And now we have LLMs to help us with it, so it doesn't matter that much.
Yeah, I would actually say it becomes more important as you get higher. Uh, Whereas like if you're a junior, it's all potential. It doesn't matter what the language is.
Right.
You're
So,
there to
yeah.
like how good are you at learning? And then it's really showing how much better you've gotten at learning up until maybe like staff. And then as you get into like principal engineer and architect, then we are, or whoever is asking for that service is asking for you to be an expert. They are asking for you to understand kind of like Ruby under the microscope, as it were.
Yeah,
Like,
fair. Yeah, I
do
agree
you
with that.
know, as a question that was recently asked of me, do you know, does the calling process do the duplication, or does the receiving process do the duplication of whatever object you're passing between processes?
Mm.
That's, that's that. deeper level of understanding that might be wanted at a, you know, principal or architect level.
Yeah, fair. Yeah, that's a good point. And you have to also know what capabilities are in whatever stack you're writing into, right? It helps you
Mhm.
solve problems. So you mentioned you did meetups and now you just did a conference. What's harder to run, meetups or a conference?
Uh, Definitely a conference is harder to run. You can do a meetup without losing money, right? Like it's just kind of a
Except for
steady,
buying some pizzas.
yeah. But even then, like
Yeah.
I've definitely lost money buying pizzas and whatever. Like that is a thing. Um, but we're talking what, like $50 a month for 2 to 3 pizzas. It's not, you know.
Right.
Um, Whereas with the conference, you're definitely putting your money on the line to some degree, and it's about managing your level of comfort with that uh, over the length of kind of getting it all done. There's a lot more setup. There's a lot of skills. Like a meetup has like a few skills that are outside of being a regular developer that are required. Running a conference has many skills that are required that are not developer friendly skills, right? You have to call sponsors, you have to reach out to vendors, you're in email chains, you know, you're just constant kind of things I didn't want to be doing. That I'd much rather be tweaking the fonts or whatever on the promotional site.
Right. Which is so easy to procrastinate with doing those little tasks, isn't it? I
Yeah,
think that's the problem when you're like an engineer mindset with building your own product. When it's time to sell, you'll usually back off into your cave, into your comfort zone, and heads down work versus growing your product.
for sure. That is that is the struggle of being kind of a developer entrepreneur in my
Yeah, it's my
experience.
struggle because
It's definitely my
I'd much
struggle.
rather not cold call people or, make sure whatever so and so's happy with whatever I'm doing. But,
Yeah, I think I just lost you or something.
uh-oh. Let's see what happened. Do you hear me?
Are you there?
I'm here.
Okay. I don't know what happened. I don't know if I disconnected or it said on air the whole time. So
Maybe video. I had it on a different tab. Maybe it went to sleep. Everything seemed fine on my end at least, but
gotcha. Okay.
Um, so why did you decide you wanted to start a conference and like because Austin, big tech scene already, why another conference in Austin?
Um, well, I think there are a few reasons. Let me tackle them kind of from probably highest priority to lowest. Um, I think highest priority for me is just feeling a disconnect in getting in person. I think, you know, kind of post COVID, even during COVID, towards the end, you realize like, oh, I've been sitting in my house for 2 years and I haven't really engaged with anybody outside of a video camera. Um, you know, so I remember meetups and conferences and being in person and talking to people being a very important part of my growth as an engineer before COVID. Like, you know, as I was becoming a better engineer and a better manager, these things were very valuable to me in a lot of different ways. It was good for networking. It was good for learning. It was just fun to hang out with other nerds who wanted to nerd out on a subject. Uh, so it was those were those were the things I remembered, and I wanted to make sure those came back. And Elixir's a really small community, but you know, I think before COVID, we had 3 or 4 regionals. We had like MPEX and Big City and Gig City. Gig City came back, but I don't. Maybe MPEX happened once after COVID, um, and Big City was not happening either. So I reached out to Bruce and Maggie and asked for their permission to, because they had previously before COVID run Lone Star Elixir, so that's even another one that was happening.
Okay.
And that Lone Star was happening in Austin. And I had been chatting with them about whether they could bring it back or not. And I finally reached out and said, "Hey, can I have your blessing to do my own?" And they were like 100%. They were just so gracious. And so sat down and started thinking through what that looks like. chatting with a bunch of people about, or that had been at like previous conference organizers about things to worry about and think about and make sure you don't do, and or make sure you do stuff. So lots of talking before we finally kicked it off. And then you just kind of got to bite the bullet and make it happen.
Yeah, for sure. And then single track, is it just like simplicity at that point, or did you actually prefer the size of the conference?
Yeah, I did this with my first meetup too, but you're just trying to remove variables. Single
Yeah.
track is way easier than multi-track. Single track venues are cheaper
Yep.
than,
Yeah, you
like
just need a room, right?
you just need a single room,
Yeah.
handle a little bit of snacks and stuff and some moving around and stretching, but you don't need like, you don't need a conference space that where people need a hallway and three different rooms that you can have three different speakers and video and all the other stuff. It's
Which,
just
by the
you're
way,
just
dude, you nailed the snacks and the breakfast and the food, so that was awesome.
thank you. That I don't want to say it was a point of pride, but we really make sure that when people visit Austin, they get to experience the best of the Austin food scene.
Yeah, yeah. No, and I feel like you can't go, you can pick any random restaurant or food truck in Austin and it's not going to disappoint you.
Yeah, I think that's fair. That's
Yeah.
100% fair. What we didn't want to do is like, just get us a random caterer or anything like that. So we sought out vendors that also had public, like brick and mortar locations.
Yeah, that's
So
awesome.
we
Yeah,
did
you nailed
Cafe
it though.
Coffee. We did, yeah.
Now,
Thank
since
you.
like I didn't drive, I flew in and then just like, is it Waymo, the automatic?
Yeah,
That was my first experience Waymoing, on an Uber, which was kind of cool.
nice.
So
You've
I
got
don't
more
know what.
experiences than I have. I have zero.
I was paranoid because people would tell me stories about it, like locking people in the car and then like being on fire, and I was like, oh gosh, like
I don't know. I've not heard that story. That seems
it could
very
be a fake
unlikely without
story. Yeah,
external influence.
yeah, who
Somebody
knows?
else would have to be setting that car on fire, I would guess.
I think it was like a battery issue, but who knows?
Okay.
But so I don't know what the Bucky's experience is, but I know you had like
Oh,
Bucky's snacks and stuff, and like I've heard that it's like a Walmart gas station essentially, right?
yeah, that's 100% the case. Like we went if so to get all those Bucky's single serve snacks that we served at the end, we actually did that for a couple reasons. We really wanted to like give the local experience, but we also didn't want to have like snack cleanup at the end of the last day.
Mm,
So this was our way of like eliminating some of the cleanup needed at the end of the conference while also having a fun, unique experience for the attendees, which I think went over really well. Um, Bucky's is a weird Texas thing. It's huge. Like the mega one, it's about an hour south of us. They don't have them in the big cities. They're between big cities, right? And so there's plenty of between in Texas. And
hmm.
so big mega one between us and San Antonio, it has like 120 gas pumps, something like that.
That's
And then
wild.
it's huge. They don't do, you would think with 120 gas pumps, they do trucks and stuff as well. Zero trucks, no diesel. Um,
Dang. I
so
feel
it's
like they're missing a big portion of their business right there.
but it's also what makes it really unique, right? The other thing that they really focus on is clean, usable bathrooms, which is really hard to find in gas stations, right?
That
Most
is
gas
true.
stations, you're like, oh, this is the last thing I want to do. In like when we go on trips, my girlfriend is looking for the Bucky's. We're going to stop at the Bucky's we find because we know that's going to be a decent experience. It's going to be clean. And then they just have, it is a Walmart. It's just huge. I don't even know how to explain it. They make fresh food. They make fresh brisket. They make fudge. They're selling tents and clothes and umbrellas with the Bucky's logo on it.
Apparently, I had to come back to Texas and just drive between San Antonio and Austin just to experience this.
It's definitely an experience. We have taken several visitors that have visited us to those, and they've always been, at least to us, appreciative of the experience.
That's
Maybe not the
awesome.
biggest highlight, but always a fun, little trip.
So when you decided that you're doing this, the single track Tex-Mex conference, what was the timeline that ended up being like when did you start planning and like how many hours a week did you have to put towards this to the final day that the event is starting?
Yeah, good question. I don't know that I have hours specifically for you. Um, there were like ebbs and flows, let's say. So like initially, like you put the whole site together and you push out and you're starting to look for CFPs and like speakers to submit talks and you're looking for sponsors. So there's a bit of that. But things for the, I guess, timeline, we tried, I think we launched it in at the end of June, was somewhere around there.
Okay. I feel
Um,
like that's pretty quick.
it feels like a quick turnaround, maybe. I don't think it is. I'm actually rethinking this right now with RBQ. We're already well further. We're well much closer to the date for RBQ than we launched for the XMex. Uh,
Okay.
and I actually think part of that ebb and flow is because we had too much time in between things. So like I think we had like 6 or 7 weeks of standard tickets. So like nothing really happened for 6 weeks. And in the last week we sold most of our tickets. So do we need that big gap in the middle? I don't know. Like, is that useful for people to have conversations with their jobs to make sure they're getting their stuff comped or whatever? I don't know.
Yeah.
But like for us, there was just a lot of downtime in between. We made sure we were sending out like emails once a week. That was something we really tried to commit to marketing wise, was to make sure that we were hitting socials and sending out emails to our email list just once a week, giving small updates like, hey, we've locked in the dates. Hey, we've locked in the venue. Here's a flash sale on tickets. That kind of stuff. Just really trying to keep the engagement up. Um, so that was probably a few hours per week, no matter what, right? That
Hmm.
was built in. And then some of it is like, oh crap, we need to start thinking about this. We need to start talking to vendors or for food, and we need to start talking. We need to find sponsors, and so then you spend a good couple days just trying to find sponsors to even email, and then emailing them or sending them cold messages in LinkedIn. Not super successful there, but
Yeah.
yeah, just a lot of stuff in that regard. And
Did
then
you find the venue before? No, like, did that help you
yes,
decide on the size of the conference and what your
yeah,
goal
that
for?
helped out a lot. A lot of this, the best way that it was put to me is you're kind of like, there's like minimum viable conference. There's a certain cost, right? Like you have to pay for a venue. You
Hmm.
have to, like, if you want to take, which you should, if you want to take care of your speakers and keynotes, there's just kind of a cost in that, speaker dinner and maybe some keynote, like flights and hotels and stuff. Um, and so there's like minimum viable conference. And then everything else is kind of like internally treat as like a stretch goal. Like, oh, if we can get somebody to sponsor this, or if we can make this much extra on money, then we can add that. So like we were very careful not to say we were going to have a happy hour until we thought
Hmm.
we could afford it. And we never hit that point. So we never said there's going to be a happy hour. You know, lunch was a thing for us. Like I think people really loved it, but it was also a cost saving aspect for us. Lunch can be easily your largest expense
Oh,
for
for
attendees.
sure.
And we wanted people to experience Austin, and we were in downtown Austin, so it was really nice to just let people go out and find their own place. We provided a map of places that would be interesting. We tried to have fun with that and had different categories like domestic versus imported so that people knew if it was a chain or not, or if it was like a local fair. Everybody, I think, chose the local stuff, which was great. But like the feedback we got was like that everybody seemed to love going out for lunch and getting to see Austin
Yeah,
and
it was nice. You know, what
doing
was
awesome
funny
things.
is I would randomly pick a place to go, and I normally didn't end up talking with anyone, and I would always run into a group from the conference and end up sitting with them and eating lunch. So it worked
Nice.
out.
Yeah, that's great. That's good to hear. That is the fear, is that somebody goes out and they don't interact with anybody, right? And they miss out on that opportunity.
Yeah.
Um, one of the things I was thinking would be useful, but ended up not doing, was setting up some kind of like shared chat room. Um, but I guess in the end, it really didn't matter, and it was gonna do one the way I wanted to do it. That wasn't just like some kind of Discord channel or whatever. was going to cost a little bit of money. And again, we just didn't quite make it. So
Yeah. I think everything it went great. What was like, so you said there was 60 attendees?
yeah, I think we had 65 fully signed up, and then we had a couple people have to back out for personal reasons.
Okay. And then like was that a number you were happy with? Were you hoping to get more? What was the goal?
Uh, the goal was probably to double that, get closer to 120.
Okay.
Uh, I think 120 now, having done it, was probably a little ambitious. I think that would have been very tight in that space.
It definitely would have been tight. I you could probably pull it
But
off though.
yeah, I wonder if it would be too much though. Like, I definitely think we could fit more than we had. Probably get around like 80 to 90,
Mm.
and at a stretch, maybe 100 would be, that'd be even tight at 100 with everybody. The
The
speakers.
standing tables and space to talk and chat in between talks was nice too, and I feel like you would have lost that if you had 100.
Yeah. Yeah. And we would have easily lost it. I think there was also, like, you could even see in the seating, like, there were small groups and it felt cozy. There weren't a ton of empty chairs, or it didn't feel like there were big empty spaces in the chairs. Um, but if every seat was full, that would have been very just cozy, too cozy.
Yeah. All right, I'm gonna just put this on hold for a second.
Hey, I'm Kimberly with Elixir Mentor. Jacob recently added recruitment services to help companies hire pre-vetted Elixir devs. I help with company outreach, so if you're hiring, I may be reaching out, or you can connect with us anytime at elixirmentor.com.
All right, and we are back. All right. So when you, all right, so single track, it makes it easy. You have only a certain amount of time in a day, and you know that talks are going to be, I don't know, like an hour, right? I forget. They're
They were
about
30 minutes, 30
30
minutes.
minutes. Okay. Did you plan content you wanted to see, or did you let people submit their own ideas? And if you liked them, it was good to go.
Yeah, that's a really good question. I think there were other conferences. So Goatmeyer happened recently. Early Gig City also happened. I think that's Bruce and Lars, and they're a little more connected in the community than I am, and so I think they had the opportunity to kind of reach out to speakers. I don't know for certain that they did or how they ran theirs, but they got a lot of, kind of big names that had spoken before and done some stuff. They also had some new people, but I really wanted to provide XMex as a way for new people to get in there, and so I just opened it up. I said, please submit talks. We're accepting everything. Let's get, and then we really tried to pick diverse topics. So one of the things I love about Elixir and conferences on Elixir is that, we had people talk about nerves. We had people talk about, I think we only had one talk on Phoenix, which was just kind of like, if you're going to a Ruby conference, most of your talks are going to be on Rails.
Yeah,
This is
yeah.
it's the elephant in the room. So like, but we had that, we had deployment structures, we had it was just all over the place. Obviously, we had some AI talks, and we tried to limit that, but I think we got some really good AI talks.
We
Um,
definitely there were definitely good AI talks. But yeah, I think everyone like it's a topic that's important but also exhausting at the same time because it's
100%.
just like the only trend that everyone wants to talk about right now.
Right.
But
Yeah.
I love hearing like people's workflows with it. I think it's super important to be an efficient developer with the tools we have. So it's always cool to like see someone's different workflow because everyone's doing something a little different.
Yes, 100%. I would love to see more of that personally. Like, I hear people say that they spin up little Docker containers and they prompt it and then they just let the AI run for hours in the back. And I'm like, I don't know what that looks like. I don't know how you get that. Like, I'm immediately wanting to like insert myself and give it feedback and tell it where it's wrong. And so my flow is very different, but it feels like somebody's pulling off a little bit of magic. And I would love to see it
Hmm.
concretely done, if that makes sense, rather than just somebody saying that's how I do it.
Yeah, for sure. And then you have, your environment that you can just like release it, right? With all permissions and it can't really F anything up because it's in a Docker container.
Yeah, yeah, that's definitely helpful for sure. Um,
I would
yeah,
say I trust it like with personal projects. Day job, the code base is a little too big and complicated. to like not babysit anything I'm doing with like Claude. But with a lot of like my fresh personal projects, I'll do the code review at the end. I'll be like, build this feature out, and then I'll do the code review, and I'll be like, remove all those freaking comments, dude.
Nice.
But
I haven't, I guess I just haven't felt comfortable with that. I enjoy the back and forth and the thinking through problems. Um, and that's probably a difference of experience. Like I said, I've been doing management for 8 to 10 years, so I'll say my coding muscle has atrophied a bit. Like I can still code,
yeah,
I can still get into the flow, but it takes more effort, and I'm just not as quick about it as I used to be. And what I found is working with AI from a manager perspective, I get to kind of have all those discussions I would have with engineers in the same way, or that had at least you having those same types of conversations has been helpful in getting what I want out of AI, even though
hmm,
it seems at times like I might be working a little bit slower than
yeah. No, I get that, and I feel like I used to do that more, mostly because just didn't trust AI.
Mhm.
But I feel like, and I still like when I do code reviews, I'll be like, no, this is completely wrong. And sometimes you have to tell it to do different things. But for the most part, with simple projects, you can kind of just like let it go, like smaller code bases. But
Yeah. I'm curious with that experience, do you find like even if I trusted it to do it at the like write the right functions and stuff, I would be worried about its ability to structure like kind of the bigger architectural decisions, if that makes sense.
yeah, so I'll normally create like, and I'll use AI to do this, but I'll usually like create like an overall like project scope and then like individual features and then architecture as well. So like I'll discuss with Claude to make like markdowns for like project architecture and then include that in my like Claude MD file.
Got it. Okay.
Because
Okay,
I
cool.
think
I,
architecture, you do have to like, guide it down the right track with that.
yeah, for sure. And so I think if you know exactly what you want, that makes a lot of sense. And I think I've had a similar experiences with that. If you're still like trying to figure something out, like how you want it to work, that can be a lot harder because you can't. It's hard to get
Yeah,
locked down.
I feel like you have to be the project architect for sure and tell it what you want. And the
Yeah.
more detailed you can get, the better, because then it gives it a path.
Yes, that makes total sense. That
And
makes a lot more.
then you get beads in your project and you have all those issues added, and it just goes through them in priority order and it goes.
There you go. I am excited to try that out. It's on my list now already. So
Yeah. Brian just, dropping all the knowledge on me. Brian was nice enough. He jumped on a call with me just to walk me through it for like 30 minutes. I was like, let's
oh,
go.
very nice.
So
Yeah,
that was
Brian's
awesome.
super gracious with his time. I sent him one of the first versions of my sponsor prospectus and asked him for his thoughts. And I thought I'd get like like that looks pretty good, or you could fix this little thing, and you have some like small comment. But he actually gave me some legit feedback, and
Yeah,
even like when I pushed back, he pushed back and like really had a conversation with me there for a few minutes, which was great.
that's awesome. Yeah, you'll get the honest opinion out of Brian. That's why I like him so much.
For sure.
So what kept you up at night? Like the week before the conference?
Oh, what kept me up at night? Well, an upset stomach was most of it, but that was probably just stress. Like I, if you recall the beginning when I kicked things off, I definitely got a little emotional, and some of that is just like all the stress culminating into that moment of like, there's nothing more I can do. There's no more stress to be had. This is it. We're just gonna have to see how it goes.
Yeah.
Kind of being excited to let go and see where it went, and also just kind of just having all that stress on you for the last week. There was a lot in the last week. Like even though you lock in vendors early, you can't really fully lock them in until you have concrete numbers, meaning
Mm.
like you don't, right? If you're selling tickets right up until the end or right up until whatever, you can't tell vendors how many people you're going to feed and therefore how many tacos or snacks or whatever it is that you need. So you're locking that in mostly in the last week or two, right?
Yeah.
So that was there's just there's all this stuff where you like get it all prepped and you're ready, but you can't pull the trigger. Like we had a t-shirt design, which great t-shirt. I really love it.
Heck
Uh,
yeah. I was just wearing mine yesterday, actually. And it's a t-shirt material is so important. And you nailed it. They're soft, they're perfect.
Thank you. I am a t-shirt snob. I worked at Custom Ink for 7 years. So I know way more about t-shirts than I probably should. And I just don't even wear them if they're not comfy and fit right anymore.
I'll have to talk to you about. I'd love to make Elixir Mentor swag, and I just don't want to accidentally put it on a crappy t-shirt, you know?
We can definitely talk. I
Awesome.
got you. Um, yeah. So there's like all that stuff where like, you know, t-shirt, you can design the t-shirt, but you can't purchase the t-shirt until you have all the sizes locked in. And even then you're kind of thinking, well, like we have to order 3 weeks out and probably have a few people that are going to buy later. So you're going to buy a few extras. You might even have somebody, and we had this where somebody was like, oh, I said medium, but I meant large. So then you want to be able to switch that out for them and that kind of thing. So you want to buy a little bit extra, right? Another thing that we thought a lot about was like, we'd rather err on the side of too much than not enough.
But then
Just for,
too much, it just dives into your profits too.
that's true. That is 100% true. So you have to gauge it, but like, you know, we wanted to make sure that there were enough tacos for everybody. And
Yeah.
I think the first day we had like 30 tacos extra that we sent up, and maybe that was bad on our part because people didn't understand that we were actually going to provide tacos, and they thought maybe it was going to be more continental. Um, but then the second day we had only like 10 tacos left, so
Nice.
did much better in that regard. And it was the same number of tacos, right? We got the same number each day. So um,
Everyone's just more comfortable going to dive into food on the second day,
I think so.
probably.
I hope everybody left a little bit heavier and a little bit happier. Um,
Hopefully.
hopefully. Yeah. So that, you know, there's, yeah, event planning is really interesting in that regard. There's just a lot leading up to it, right? And again, you're trying to decide things. We went to like a restaurant supply store and was pushing a cart around buying like big bowls to hold salsa. Like these are not bowls we would ever use at home, but they're great for events. We had to buy chafers and stuff to keep the queso warm and all that, you know.
Yeah.
There's really
Just event
and
stuff.
event stuff. And my girlfriend was so helpful. So she was my partner in all of this. She did a lot of the design work. That's her background, is in graphic design and illustration. She just did a great job on all that stuff. She helped with all the marketing and making those emails look professional and having some sense of I don't know, just professionalism to them. I don't that maybe is the wrong word, but you know, they felt planned, I guess. Maybe they felt, I don't know. And she was awesome. And then like that was really a saving grace of the 2 days of the conference, was having her there to run registration and run the snacks and deal with vendors and do the setup on, like if I had to do that while also trying to MC, handle tech transitions and all that jazz, I would have been pulling hair out. Like it was a lot to do the things I did, and knowing that she had the other stuff covered was super helpful. I just can't state how much she was.
Yeah, I'm sure that was a huge relief because, well, like, and luckily there were no like projector issues, were there? Everything went pretty
Uh,
smoothly.
Nothing that you could see from the conference side as an attendee. We did have one hiccup in the whole conference, and that was that you might appreciate this, like when you're recording video and you want to record both the video and the slide, they had this like video splitter. I don't know what to call it, but they had this way of capturing both and then feeding them both into OBS to
Okay.
capture both. Well, that broke like a week before, and they didn't have the replacement, so we didn't capture video at all. Or sorry, we captured video, we did not capture slides. So
Okay.
now I had to send an email afterwards saying, hey, we didn't capture slides. Could you send me your deck if there's a way to send it to me or put it on Git or whatever it is, so that I can kind of work it and try and find where to slot it in into the video. There's you can see a little edge of the slides in the video
Yeah.
itself. So I'm going to try and time it in. And I also need to learn how to do video editing. So that's like,
But
okay.
that's the worst kind when you got to match up to audio and yeah. That's why
Yeah,
I say this over and over so everyone listening probably gets sick of it, but that's why I do live streams because I don't have to edit afterwards.
you're removing variables 100%. I'm 100% with you on the live streaming. My first meetup was just a come and work on your code project. No
Oh,
speaker,
nice.
no language requirement, just come and work on your project. And so like I just had to be there to open up the space and let people sit down. And I think like the setup and teardown was like making sure there were enough electrical plugs and electrical cords and extensions so that nobody lost power, right? And then buy donuts and coffee. It was like
It's
super
just like a
simple.
little like hackathon, just do your own
Yeah,
thing.
exactly. And it was just an easy way to get in and try it and remove variables. And so the live streaming, 100% agree. That's you'll eventually get into the other content. I'm sure you have or will, and it'll add a new variable, but now you know the other variables.
Oh, I mean, like I edit like tutorials and stuff that go on YouTube, so I just know how much time editing takes.
Yes. Okay. I
And
thought you
then
had, but I wasn't 100% sure.
yeah, but then like you're on here, it's an hour and a half of conversation editing. Even if you're really good at editing, it's still at least the time length of the video just because you're going through it for the most part.
Right.
I don't know.
And it's live, so you can't like go
No.
in and take out coughs or whatever or
I mean, I can. It's just gonna take a while. Like sometimes like knock on wood it hasn't happened, but the like I feel like my first year of doing this something always went wrong, like audio issues with my guests, like figuring out how to stream to OBS and just like video quality, audio, all this stuff. And I would have to go in post and like try to like clean up the audio in like Premiere or something, and that was a nightmare.
yeah, I can see that. Um, one of the things that I appreciate about your setup is like I still have no sense of studio like lighting. Like because this light is here, my face darkens. I know these are things I need to fix, but they're just like you've got that nice purple background, you got the key lights, you got the face light, you got
I got
the
the setup now, and I forgot. I actually just upgraded my key light. I had like a cheaper Amazon one, and I was like always flicking the switch on, and I forget his name right now. Who did the nerves talk with the
uh
automating his desk?
Jason, right? Jason
Yeah,
Axelson, I think.
yeah, that sounds right. And I was like, ooh, Elgato has a light because I already have like the Stream Deck and everything. Like everything's like pretty much automated off my Stream Deck. So now my key light turns on and off with my camera, and that's pretty dope.
Nice. Yeah, I have one Elgato device, which it's just a CLR to USB. I forget what the device is. It's the not CLR, XLR. So it takes
Okay.
my Shure 700B or MB or something and converts it into USB, which is really
Okay.
nice. So
Nice.
yeah.
Yeah, I bought a Beacon mic, which is probably like the highest quality USB mic you can get, and that's I can avoid all that complicated audio stuff then.
It's worth avoiding. When I got it, it was kind of a present to myself when I did my first podcast and had just recently accepted a new job. So I was like, oh, I'm going to splurge and I'm going to like go get what the pros get. And it's less hassle now. So I think maybe the software got updated or something. But at the beginning, I was constantly having to like unplug and replug it in and,
Hmm.
or like, you know, close the software and reopen it and all that jazz. But I do that a lot less now.
Yeah, just all those pain points that you learn along the way, right?
Yeah, for sure.
Now, I'm curious, were you able to enjoy the conference, or was it just all stressful making sure everything was lining up and on time and working?
Yes, I did get to enjoy the conference. Um, I got like one of the things I was really impressed by was just the shared engagement. Like, I said this at the beginning of the conference, and I think people took it to heart, but I also don't think it really needed to be said. Everybody listened, and nobody was creating little noises or shuffles. It was just really quiet in the room, and you look around, and everybody's like looking at the speaker giving their talk. That was really cool. And I got to be a part of that for the most part. There were definitely a couple talks where I had to take care of some other things or whatever, and I missed them, or just due to the stress and the 12-hour days for those 2 days, I just didn't have the energy to pay attention. But I did get to listen to most of them. I have the video for all of them, and yeah, it was really good. I was just really pleased with the outcome. I think some of that's it's kind of a roll the dice. You can read a really good abstract and then it can be a so-so talk, but I thought we got really great talks, and Maggie and Amos were great keynote speakers.
They really were. They were very engaging.
Yeah, had some really good kind of meta inspiring things to say. It was nice. I'm already
Yeah.
tearing up just thinking about it again.
Yeah, no, I like Maggie was just like a really good perspective, right? From being like more non-technical, but she's very involved in technical stuff, you know?
Exactly.
And it was cool. It was a good, and Amos, he was funny. He's a good
Yeah.
speaker. Yeah.
Yeah. I was surprised to hear this was his first keynote. I just thought it was something he had done before because
Really?
he's given so many good talks. And
Oh,
I was like, it was like, you've done this before. He's like, no, this is my first keynote. I was like, oh, well, I'm
he
glad it's
did great.
us.
He's a
Yeah,
natural.
for sure.
Yeah. No, like I'm hesitant of doing conference talks and things because I feel like talking in person is way different than on camera.
Well, not like this. It's the same here. What I can tell you, give a talk at a meetup. Like one of the things I really tried to push at my meetups was we were looking for speakers, like we don't have a low bar, we have no bar. This is a place to practice
Yeah.
and learn and get feedback and just share your knowledge. Like meetups
I
are
have
way
I have done a
low
meetup.
pressure.
I have done that. And that was good, right? Like meetups are nice. They're small. Like we ended up having like 30 people.
Nice.
Yeah. Now I'm blanking on Brian's last name. But Brian basically started up the Salt Lake area Elixir meetup again, and he reached out to me. And I believe like the first day, I was the talk, and it was fun. It wasn't my greatest talk, but it was fun. It was engaging. Everyone, I
Yeah.
think, enjoyed it.
Well, and I think that's the point. It doesn't have to be amazing at a meetup. It's again, it's a place to just share knowledge. It's way low pressure. Nobody paid to be there. So
Yeah, that's true. That
and
is
and you're
true.
amongst friends. Hopefully you know the people there, and you get to just try stuff and see what works and get feedback. And you know, unless you make a massively egregious error, like nobody's going to care.
Yeah. Well, even if it is an error too, just be like, "Oh, you're right."
Exactly.
Now the rest of this talk is pointless, but that's so
Yeah.
funny. Let's see. How honest do you want to go?
Yeah. I will be as honest as I can. That's just kind of how I work. But
All
if
right.
I'm not gonna,
What were mistakes that you made in planning this conference, and what would you like avoid in the future? What were like good learning
I think the biggest learning
opportunities?
was to try doing the sponsor fishing, or that's what I'm calling it, because I didn't know how else to call it. But doing that sponsor outreach, doing it sooner. I waited until tickets were already on sale to really engage with sponsors. And I think I don't know that much would have changed because it was really hard to find sponsors, and rightfully so. Like we're a first conference. I'm not like a big thought leader in the community. I think several people know me, but I'm not like the Elixir guy or the Elixir guy in this space or anything like that, the way like Bruce and Lars are. So that makes a lot of sense. I just was an unknown quantity. Um, but if I had engaged earlier with sponsors, I think there's an opportunity to uh, reset pricing, right? Kind of pay some of that sponsorship forward into the attendees' experience. Uh,
Mm.
and that it wasn't possible anyway, but I think that would have been much harder once we had already set ticket prices and then gotten sponsors after the fact.
Yeah, that makes sense. What's your approach like when you got a sponsor? Was it like a specific thing they were paying for, or was it just like towards the conference in general?
So I had two sponsors. One was so I did a tiered package. It was just three tiers. There was like a silver, a gold, and a platinum tier. And everything was like, I just had a big table that said, here's a benefit. Do you get it? What or not kind of thing, right? Or do you get more? So like complimentary tickets, platinum got more than silver kind of thing, right? So,
Mhm.
uh, and that like the size of your logo mattered and all that kind of stuff. And again, I did a decent amount of research on that. I don't know that like I said, I don't want to say it didn't work. There's a lot of variables in there. This time I'm trying a different approach for the next conference. I think I'm gonna have a smaller tiered package and then add-ons, because I do think one of the things I did run into are there are sponsors who just want a very specific thing
Mm.
and they don't really care about all the other stuff. So if you can have kind of a smaller base package and then add-ons, that can be a better experience. I think I'm going to find out. That's the experiment we're running this round.
Okay.
Where I had things like lanyard and tables built into the tiered package, now those are add-ons. So maybe you just don't want a table at the conference. You don't have to pay for it. You just pay for a package and the extras that you want. So
Yeah, that makes sense. Nice. What were like some hidden costs no one warned you about?
hidden costs. Oh, I mentioned a couple. Like, you end up buying a lot of like conference specific
Oh yeah,
equipment,
bowls and heating plates,
bowls, and
whatever it may be.
exactly. Like we bought 300 forks and spoons and knives and a bunch of coffee cups that we had to order off Amazon and all that stuff. So those things, like we now have like 2 containers full of whatever is left for the next stuff. So those won't be extra costs all the time, but I'm trying to think. I do think people get caught off guard. I think we talked to a lot of people, so there were fewer things that caught us off guard. Um, but I'm trying to think if anything was like just like, oh, like we're paying for that. Oh my gosh, I forgot about that kind of thing. Nothing stuck out. I can't think of anything that sticks out, and then maybe it's just because I now know everything we paid for, so it's hard to think of what I didn't know we
Yeah,
were doing.
yeah.
But again, I think we just spoke to a ton of conference organizers that had done it, and so that helped out a ton.
We have a Horabart. Sorry if I just butchered your username there. Do you have a date for the second conference yet?
Uh, for ExMex, no. For RBQ, uh, it's going to be probably the last week of March. It's not fully locked in yet, but we are already talking to the venue. Those dates seem to be free. We just need to sign the contract. So
Very
hopefully
cool.
the last weekend or the last week of March. It's like the 26th and 27th tentatively.
That'll be awesome. That's exciting. Yeah, so I know I was talking to you like I'll probably just like try to rope you into it somehow, like a Salt Lake City meetup. And I talked to Brian about it a little bit, not a meetup, a conference. And I
Mhm.
think it'd be really fun. There's like, I want to like change, I want it to be, I don't know what I want it to be, but I want it to be slightly different than just like a single track, like listen to speakers. I think it could be really cool to I don't know, like rope in like some kind of hackathon where you like kind of include people and like maybe prizes or like help people build like a SaaS product and then have like speakers for like being going from developer to founder or you
Have
know
you
what I
ever,
mean like
yeah.
more
Have you
more skill based.
have you heard of an unconference? There's other names for it. That's the name I'm most familiar
Oh,
with.
interesting. No, I haven't.
So the idea is that you set up a space, people pay for it, or I think I've been to a couple where that you don't, but you generally pay for it, but there are no speakers. There's no set speakers or speaker list. People show up, and through kind of the community, like so, what happens at the very beginning of the conference or the unconference is a bunch of people submit different topics. You then try to like correlate and group similar topics, and then you give everybody 3 votes and they go in and vote on the 3 things or they can even put all 3 on 1 if they really want to force a conversation. But then they put, there are 3 marks on different topics, and now you have panel discussions, right? And so it's really like community driven. There's no like necessarily slides or one person driving a presentation. You're just all talking about your shared experience with whatever, like this is a, you know, how are we doing this in Ruby? How are you handling this? This is the problem I've run into. How have you solved that? Or did you run into this? It's a really different experience. It does remove some of the variables that I've talked about, but it also adds some new ones because you then have to be very engaged in the in
Mm-hmm.
MC work in that day of. It's just a different level of MCing. Um, but I I've been to several of those, and I seriously thought about doing it. I guess my concern was I didn't know how much interest there would be in that versus having speakers.
Yeah.
Uh,
Well, I feel like they're both like like I want to attend both. Like you want to see smart people talk about what they're doing in just, 30-minute talk. But then also like I've been on this, do you know who Rob Walling is?
oh yeah, microconf
Yeah, so like
startups for the rest of us.
not to rip him off completely, but I would really love to take what he's doing on like he's on like a larger scale, right? Like SaaS products and helping more technical founders become product owners or whatever it may be. But I'd love to
Mhm.
do like the same thing for Elixir people. Like if you have a good SaaS product, like let's help you build it. How do you architect it? What are like things you run into, and then what's the next level? Like when do you step away from writing code and selling your product, and like what do you do? Because I feel like as like an engineer, we suck at knowing what to do outside of building.
Sure. So you even have, I think this is important, is knowing your audience, and it sounds like you really want to have an audience towards like entrepreneurial developers and Elixirists specifically. And I
Hmm.
that's going to be a smaller community just by
It is.
default.
Yeah.
But I think there are people that are very interested in that. You might even find a way to do like, hey, we're going to have speakers in the morning, and then we're going to have uh, I don't know what to call them,
Like
but like
workshops or something.
workshops or just panel discussions or
Yeah.
group discussions on the topics that the speakers gave or whatever that is. I don't know. But I think there's a way to have both. It'd be interesting. I've not seen anything like that where they've had like a part unconf and a part conf.
Yeah.
Um, really
Yes.
interesting.
I think it could be cool. And like I just like I think the writing's on the wall. I don't want to be like negative, but I think it's just going to be harder and harder moving forward. Like teams are going to be smaller at companies. So it's going to be very hard to have a job. So why not teach people to be like self-sufficient, and be their
Yeah,
boss? I think there's
yeah,
some gold there, you know?
for sure. I think I agree with that in principle. It's definitely something that I've been thinking about a lot and trying to figure out. Part of the conference thing is, can we do it in a way that supplement some income so that we can focus on, maybe more products and whatnot. But um, yeah, yeah, it's there's a lot to unpack there. But I think I agree with you. We're likely to see smaller teams doing more.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know how much more. I do wonder, like, does Google like get cut in half or even 25%? Probably not.
No, and I think like the massive layoffs that we've been seeing, they're not even responsible from LLMs, right? It's responsible from um what is
Kind of
the all the COVID crap where they
right.
were
The
pretending to be
economics, the
growing their
overhiring.
yeah,
Yeah.
yeah, for sure. And then it had to self-correct,
Yeah.
unfortunately.
Yeah, my understanding is most of those companies still have more employees than they did before COVID. They just
Hmm.
had to, like, to your point, they had to correct for the overhiring they did during.
Yeah. And then I've also heard that a lot of companies are still like fake hiring. They have all the job openings and they'll actually do interviews and they actually have zero interest in hiring people just to make it look like they're in a growth mode,
Mm,
which
I
kind
could
of
see that.
sucks too.
That sounds
Yeah,
like a lot of work
it
I
does.
mean, people complained about the interview process when they were hiring, right? That's just a lot of effort.
Yeah.
But
Well, I think I hope it changes. I think it's changing, but like the drawn out like multiple month interview process, especially at like FANG companies, is it's so exhausting. Like it's insane.
yeah, yeah, I agree with that. I've never done one because I think I interviewed at one or two bigger companies, but didn't get very far. Partly because it took too long, and I got offers before we could get to the final steps with the other companies. But also, like, I just didn't have a huge interest to be a small fish in a big pond. I
Yeah.
like the idea of joining a team and feeling like I have impact and I'm part of the business and I understand the business and have some input into how we accomplish that.
I agree. I enjoy smaller teams. Like I'm at Collex right now, and that's probably the biggest company I've ever been at, and it's still relatively small, and I
That's a
like
very
that.
small company. That
Yeah.
would, if I were to work there, that would be the smallest company I've ever worked at.
Yeah, I want to say like total 20 something, maybe 25 employees, and then the back end Elixir team is going to it's 4 right now and probably going to be 5 shortly, but
Nice. Yeah,
um
I mean, that's one team, right?
yeah.
That's enough for two pizzas. Two pizzas feeds five people roughly. You're probably one team. There's like one of the experiences that I really appreciate, or I have a lot of experience doing this, is joining companies that have product market fit and we're kind of in that 1 to 2 engineering team space and then helping grow beyond that. Like that's
Yeah.
an interesting part, like
That's
of
where you run into all the hard stuff, the scaling
yeah,
issues and the growth and
exactly. Like undoing all the decisions you did before that weren't wrong, but are now wrong. They weren't wrong
right.
when you made them, but because we're bigger and we're doing more, they're now wrong.
Yeah. Now all of a sudden your database queries and performance matter, right? Like you can't get by with sloppy code.
Exactly. Or like we now have to have services because we have to worry about like thundering herd problems. We could send out 100 emails at 10 a.m. We can't send out 10,000 emails at 10 a.m. We have to spread that out, those kinds of
Yeah.
things. Yeah.
Yeah, scaling's hard. People don't understand that. I'm a big fan of multiple companies, like multiple products that you just have a small user base so you don't have any headaches. Like if you have a couple like just 1,000 or so users on multiple products and you can bring in, 15, 20 grand a month because of those, you're in a pretty good spot.
Yeah. You already mentioned Rob Walling. I agree with a lot of that. I think for the longest time, it was really easy to get VC funding, and I don't think people fully understood the the contract they were signing when they took VC money. I think Rob talks about this a lot, but like, when you're bootstrapped, like you can kind of have a growth like this. It can be kind of up and down with a general trend to, slightly up. That that is actually pretty common and useful. And if you're bootstrapped, viable. If you take VC money, if you're not doing this, you better be doing this, right? Like you need to be running the company into the ground trying to get to this. And
Right.
this isn't working for investors. This is a no go.
Yeah.
That's oversimplifying things, but I think that's largely true. And so, like knowing when to engage with VC versus bootstrap is a valuable thing to know. And
Yeah.
yeah,
Well, I appreciate. I actually have him coming on my podcast in February. I'm really excited for it.
I saw that.
Um,
I'm yeah excited as well.
and I do enjoy his perspective a lot because I like you don't want to take money if you don't need to.
Hmm.
And with a lot of SaaS products, you don't. You just have to grow, right? Because
Yeah,
you can pretty much start making money day one, like when you launch. And
yeah.
there shouldn't be a reason that you have to take money unless it's like a marketplace or something incredibly hard to scale where you have to really like pump money into to get attention. But I don't know.
Or you feel like you're like, I think there's a case to be made for you know what your product is and you grow it, just to compete with your competitors or whatever that might look like.
Hmm.
That's kind of on the fuzzier side, but there are good equations there. The people who like have a pitch deck and they take money because they haven't even started building, those are the ones I'm worried about. Like,
For real, like you just have an idea. Well, like that's the thing. You're not going to. It's very unlikely. I shouldn't say you're not going to, but it's pretty unlikely you're going to get any kind of angel investor or anything off based off your idea.
for sure,
Like,
they're going to want to see traction. They're going to want to see metrics.
yeah, like an
Yeah.
idea. I always laugh at people that want like they bring up an NDA for hearing their $1 million idea. Like, yeah, okay, buddy, it's not. You know how hard it is to take that idea and build it.
Right. Also, I think people forget that like if it's an interesting idea and a hard idea, nobody else is going to want to do it uh, unless they're as passionate about it as you are.
Exactly.
Like you could tell me all about how you're serving some community that I don't know about, and I'll be like, great, good on you. I have no
That's
interest in serving that.
that's awesome. Get after it. Well, like I'll always talk about my ideas even before I build them, because even if someone started building it at the same time as me, they have to be just invested in the idea as I am, just as passionate,
Sure.
or
Yeah.
it's not going to work.
Yeah. I agree with you. I also, what I love about software is that you can be passionate about tons of things. So like it's kind of the way I normally put it is it's kind of the blessing and the curse of software development. There's always something new to learn, right? There's new tech, there's new process, there's new
It's exhausting, dude. I'm
domains.
tired. I
Well,
don't know,
even if
and
so, let's say you get
and I don't
tired
know
of
anything.
Rolex, you can stop learning about trading cards and go somewhere else and learn about
Right.
construction and or t-shirt printing. Like
Yeah,
who thought that as a software engineer I was going to learn about t-shirt printing? It's
that is
not,
true.
it's you there's always something to learn. And to your point, you're right, it's exhausting. So then you have to start to pick and choose.
Yeah.
But there's always something new to learn.
But
So
then, like, a lot of the problems you're solving, like, especially when you start scaling and things, it's the same thing in whatever industry you're in, which is pretty
kind
cool.
of, I think
Like,
it can be. Yes,
yeah,
there are certain scaling issues that are just solved, and you just solve them all the same way. But there are also unique aspects to that, right? Like services that you might extract in one company are not the services you would necessarily extract in another company.
yeah, for
Or
sure.
like maybe you do send out 10,000 emails, but you send them out in the moment. They're like in the moment notifications. So they're already spread out through the day. So you don't have to worry about like spreading them out because they're all sent
Hmm.
out at like the daily update or whatever.
Yeah. Owen said that he's going to start measuring a number of pizzas.
That's an old school thing, right? I think I don't remember who came up with that, but the idea was like your team should never be bigger than uh your team should never be bigger than could be fed by two pizzas. I
That's
think it's like an
hilarious. I
old,
like that.
it's a very old like Joel Spolsky uh idea. These are all, kind of thought leaders back in the
I've
day.
never heard it put by pizza's term, but I have heard like your direct communication and projects, like you shouldn't exceed like I think it was like 6 to 8 people, just because, and then your departments need people to just chat between them, but
Yeah.
it gets too hard. Like, and like if you do anything like slightly agile, it stops working too if your team's too big.
Yeah, like those stand-ups where you have 10 people all giving their status update, which is the wrong idea of a stand-up and the wrong number of people. It's those are painful.
Yeah, they
It's like,
are.
oh, I was in stand-up for an hour today, and you're like, what? No, that's wrong. Stop.
I will say that Collex is really good about like keeping meetings short. Like I would say our morning stand up doesn't go over 30 minutes, and that's probably almost too long too, but at least we still usually have that cutoff.
Yeah, it depends on what your stand-up is for. Like my guess is because you're a remote company, there is some amount of socializing that happens in stand-up.
Yeah, a
There's
little bit.
some
We
chit
talk
chat.
yeah, we talk some shit like in the first couple minutes as people are joining, and then it's usually just like what you're currently working on, any problems you're having, and then you move on.
Yeah. One of the things that I like to change, the status updates are okay and they're not bad, but there are better ways to handle that. There's this tool that I really fell in love with called Actionable Agile. And you can plug it into Jira and it plugs into like Asana, or you can buy it standalone. But it has this idea of an aging work in progress chart. And so what it does, it looks at the history of your tickets, gets a rough estimate of how long each ticket took through each stage, and then tells you where the current tickets lie. So you can kind of say like, okay, all these are in the green. They're all moving along just as well as most of our other tickets. Do we really need to talk about these? There's not. What's
I
interesting
like
about
that. That's cool.
so what
Yeah,
you
I would
do is
say
you
like
start to talk about the outliers, the things that are like in the orange and red, right?
yeah,
Like,
yeah,
why is this blocked? What can we do to help? You don't want to sit there and point fingers, but you do want to have the interesting
right.
conversations.
Right. Yeah, I would say that's mostly what it's based about. Like, as long as you're not blocked, continue on, right? And
Yep.
like, obviously, you should be getting things done as well. So,
Yeah. Yeah. And that I think that really helps identify uh kind of the interesting conversations and the unblocking conversations, right? To your
yeah,
point. And then you're not sitting there listening to somebody say, well, I'm working on this ticket and I should have it done today. Okay.
Right. And that is like the default stand up, isn't it?
Hmm. Um, yeah,
So I'm curious. You come from more of like a leadership management role within like developers, right?
sure.
How
Yeah, the last
how
10 years or so.
Yeah, so how transferable, like I would say you have to have pretty good soft skills when you start managing, right? You have to be able to communicate with people in like clear and nice ways. Because developers are
Yes.
kind of known to be short and kind of be assholes sometimes with like criticism and whatever it may be.
That can happen. I think it happens less often than most people think. Um, I would say, let's see, the skills that are, well, I'm trying to think about how to approach this. I will say the best technical leader, the best software engineering leader I ever met had zero technical skills, but he was like an A plus people manager and
Mm.
project manager. So like he didn't have to lean on that crutch. Whereas I think probably 90 to 95% of most engineering leaders need to lean on the crutch of also having some expertise and being able to speak the terms and not come off like a pointy-eared boss kind of thing.
Yeah, you got to
Um,
be the good translator, right?
yeah, and you got to be able to know when to like hold somebody to account. Are they telling you the truth, or are they just saying like, are they hiding the fact that they did no work kind of thing?
Right. And I would say that's really easy to do in software, especially remote, right? It like you can pretend you're stuck on a problem that you just
Yeah,
haven't worked on yet.
exactly. I think that can be really, um, but even then, that's rarely the problem that I'm trying to solve. Mostly, it's about alignment and I think another thing that's really important, that I think about it this way. My job as a manager is to make my team productive. And the best way that I can do that is by building a healthy team, right? So like, are we building trust and respect for each other? Can we have debates uh constructively without like moving to uh yelling or ad hominem or whatever? Like,
Or the
can we
angry Zoom hang up, like
exactly, can somebody put something out there that's against what we've been talking about and us consider it completely and take it for what it's worth, and then either provide feedback as to why that wouldn't work or legitimately consider why that might be better. So that like making those kind of spaces available is hugely important. And I think sometimes that gets equated with like, oh, we're all into trading cards and so we'll work together, and it doesn't, like, those are not
right, that doesn't
right.
work, does it?
Values and culture are different than interests,
Hmm.
I think, is maybe a better way to say that.
Yeah, for sure. How would you say like your skills transferred to like running a conference with volunteers? Would you say it's like very similar to running engineering dev team or not quite?
um that's a good question. I am very happy for every volunteer we had, and I think we had too many for what we just didn't know. And again, we just would rather err on the side of too many than not enough.
Hmm.
I think our volunteers did amazing work, and I think they felt, I don't, nobody told me this, but I just get the impression they felt bad they didn't do more because there just turned out to not be that much to do, right? There was like, so there was a lot of downtime that I don't think I thought was going to happen, and therefore I don't think they thought it was going to happen. Um, but I do think the management side like definitely helps, right? Two things that I think happen, like, as or a few things, two of the things I'm thinking of, but one is you stop thinking about success as a thing that you must achieve, and it's a thing your team must achieve. So you start to live vicariously through your team. If your team is getting praise, then that means you're getting praise, right? So if somebody says that, man, that team killed it, or that person on your team was amazing, that's as good as telling me I was a part of that because I was their manager and I helped in some way
Mm.
vicariously make that happen and give them the space to do the thing. Um, and also, you're just trying to you're constantly thinking through like, what can we do now to reduce stress later? So like, one of the things we did at the speaker dinner, the volunteers were invited as well. And so I pulled the volunteers aside I gave them their swag bag ahead of time, so they already had their t-shirt ready. They didn't have to like get into it the day of. And then we also just had a little huddle about what to expect. Like making, I had sent them an email already that said, "Hey, we need to be there at this time," and then we just confirmed that at the dinner. And then also like one of the things that I think can be very scary, and thankfully it just wasn't a problem at XMex, is kind of code of conduct stuff. Um, and again, I spoke to another conference organizer who basically said, like, don't wait to have the conversation of how things escalate and get decided until the moment it needs to be decided. Have that conversation early. So I talked to my volunteers and said, hey, here's the general idea. We don't have a listed code of conduct, but we tend towards these ideas. If you have anybody come to you, you just bring them to me. That's on mine. I'd rather it be my decision and me take the weight of that decision than anybody else feeling like they have to make a decision in the moment. And so just made it very clear that was not an expectation of their role. That was very much mine to own and to take care of. And you know, I think probably for most conferences, it turns out to not be an issue. But it was nice to like have that defined, I guess, for the volunteers, so they didn't like we're not in the moment thinking like, well, what do we do here, and having to talk through it. And it was just kind of, no, that's Nathan's decision. Nathan owns it. Nathan
Well,
is
it's
bear.
almost like just planning to bring an umbrella and it won't rain, right?
Exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly. Yeah. I think so. Those kinds of things, right? Just getting ducks in an order, right? Like, so we set up a little conference notion board and had like tickets that we were moving across between me and Pat and my partner, and just making sure that we knew who was doing what, when, and when it was due. And we weren't like super strict about it, but it was just helpful to have when things got a little wonky, and then we just needed to make sure we got it out of our heads and into the board, and we knew who was doing what.
Yeah, that makes sense. I feel like just I mean the volunteers were great too, but it was probably pretty easy to manage because all they had to do was bring food out, make sure everyone had everything they needed, and I'm sure maybe move chairs around if
Yeah,
you needed things
most of
moved
it
or
happened before and after the conference, so it was like kind of the setup, like setting up the sign,
Mhm.
tearing down the signs, getting the swag bags prepped to hand out when people got registered. And then, so it was a lot of the volunteer stuff happened before and after because it was such a smaller venue. I think there's probably a lot more that happens in bigger events. And so what we tried to do to make it worthwhile for the volunteer, we gave them a free ticket to the conference. And then we basically said, you work one day, you attend one day. But I think what
Oh,
ended up happening is that they did so little on the day they were supposed to work that they felt bad and showed up to to volunteer again.
yeah.
So uh, they were all very awesome and just ready at a moment's notice to help where they could. So it was really nice. Um,
Yeah. I mean, I'll say I feel like from at least an attendee perspective, it went incredibly smoothly, especially for the first one.
Thanks. Yeah. Again, I think a lot of that was prep and talking, standing on the shoulders of giants kind of thing, right? On the shoulders of others. Um, some of the things, if you're thinking about this, I learned from Bruce and some other conference organizers. I think you're already thinking about it to some degree. Like, just love your speakers, love on them. So we really tried to do what we could as to what we could afford. Just show them that we really appreciated what they put in and how important they were to the actual experience. Um, make it unique. Like, I think the way he says it is celebrate the place you're in. So we really tried to focus on making it an Austin experience and not just like in a hotel, could be anywhere kind of thing, right?
Yeah.
There are obviously limits to that. I don't know, you can't like rent out the fanciest hotel in Austin and have that experience, but we can still provide a unique Austin focused experience through like
And Capital Factory is an awesome spot to do it too. Like,
it really worked out very well. They were
yeah,
great.
that's cool. I will say, and I feel like it might be more of an Elixir community thing. Everyone is just awesome and nice. And so like even after the conference, we all like met up essentially at a bar or, different places for like happy hour and hung out and had a few drinks. And it was fun because then people you didn't necessarily get to talk to during the day, you got to talk to, and it was good.
Yeah, I heard about that. I really wanted to go, but I was so tired. I think, like I said, it was roughly 2 12-hour days at that point. So
Yeah.
we packed up the car, drove home, and I think I sat down on the couch and fell asleep on the couch 5 minutes later without
Yeah.
no need to even try.
I get it. But I mean, even without you there hosting, everything went smoothly and it was fun.
Cool. Yeah, it sounded like a really good time. I heard uh, somebody told me that they got too much barbecue. I think there was some people went to Cooper's afterwards and grabbing a few drinks was not quite aware of how much they were ordering, so just ate way too much. But
That's funny.
it's also
That's fun.
barbecue, so it's hard not to do.
Yeah. I guess you kind of already talked on this. I was gonna have some closing remarks and advice from you, but I feel like you've nailed it all. Like if anyone wanted to do this, you kind of covered that. And the resources that saved you is just talking to people that have done it.
Yeah. I think about this a lot recently. Amos, I think, kind of closed the conference with the phrase that the knowledge you share is greater than the products you build, and that's been stuck in my head quite a lot. And I think the conference kind of met that goal without even really thinking about it. Um, it's something that I maybe have tried to do without thinking about it directly in that way. I do think, like I said, conferences are were and still are hugely important to my career as an engineer. So now
They're
I
fun. I need to make a point
shifted
to go to more
forward.
of them
Yeah,
because I think
I
it's just good to meet people in person. Like, and like it's kind of one-sided. Like more people know me, especially if they watch my tutorials, and it's really nice to shake the hand and like meet people face to face and like get to know what they're doing. Like, of course, people comment on my videos or they're in my Discord, but it's still like I see a username. I don't know it's John.
sure. Yeah, and like you've been talking about beads, but like there are tools like that that you learn about at a conference. You're like, oh, I'm having this problem at work, and somebody's like, oh, have you looked at this? Have you
Yeah,
even
exactly.
never had that conversation that might have like made your job just so much easier.
Yep, 100%. And then just like hearing now, why am I blanking on his name? But the level all engineer,
Oh,
the deployment talk.
Thomas,
Thomas,
I can't
yes.
think of his last name.
So Thomas is awesome. And just like hearing his perspective on how he handled deployment and distribution and everything, and his approach versus like obviously we all have our own different approaches to deployment, and it's really nice just to get those perspectives and feel like you're
Yeah,
more likely to listen either at a conference or having like the hallway talks.
yeah. And I had no idea he lived in Austin. So
I
now
didn't either. I didn't realize Level All was in Austin either. That's cool.
I don't know that Level All is, but Thomas
Oh,
is.
okay, but Thomas is. Gotcha. Okay.
Yeah. And so now I have a new coffee buddy. We're trying to figure out when we're going to meet up for some coffee soon. So that's
Awesome.
also a
Yeah,
great
he's a
part.
great dude. Um, I guess like any words of advice to people, and we can wrap this up.
Uh, Words of advice. Um,
Don't do it. Will you? Oh, actually, here's Owen asked, "Will you
oh,
be
for
less
conferences,
stressed? Will you be less stressed next time?"
probably,
Yeah.
probably a little bit. I mean, but it's still, you're putting a lot into it, right? Like, and then it just kind of like you have to let go and let it happen. So I'll probably feel a lot of similar emotions, but I'll be ready for them, so I won't choke up.
Yeah.
Uh, but for conferences, I, I mean, can't hurt to try. And then yeah, just be careful. Like know your spend and don't overcommit. I think those are we talked a lot about that stuff. So
Dude,
a lot of my
overcommitting is so
conferences
easy to
advice,
do.
yeah. So I think a lot of my conference advice is already in this chat.
Yeah,
But
absolutely.
yeah, but just I think again the blessing and the curse of just keep learning, try new things, growing. Nothing stinks more than being in a job where you feel like aren't you're doing the same thing you've done 1,000 times and aren't learning things.
Yeah.
That feels horrible to me.
Yeah, I agree. And like honestly, guys, the more that you network and just put yourself out there, the easier job searches become as well. So everyone
100%.
that wants their Elixir job, shaking people's hands and getting to know people is it's a faster route than applying on LinkedIn and being in a pool of 1,000.
Yeah. I 100% agree with that. Again, the conferences for me are a way to put my name out there without having to do cold calls. But I think I said this at the beginning of ExMex. I have found at least 3 of the jobs I've had in my career through conferences in different ways. Like I
Yeah.
applied to a company because I liked a speaker. I ran into somebody who was hiring. Applied for a job that was a sponsor. Like, and it all led to great opportunities. It was, yeah. So networking is huge.
Yep.
I think it's even more important now with kind of the economics and stuff. Yeah.
It is. It is. I agree completely. And like whatever platform that I have right now, whatever you call it, is like it's fun for me, but also it gives me the ability to like at least help and promote people too. And even though it's a small channel, it's big for the Elixir community and it's cool. And I just started it. Like you can just do things, guys. It's just be prepared that making content can really suck and it's hard sometimes, but
Yes. Yeah. Nothing that's worthwhile is easy.
that's true. Just keep doing it and then have fun. Like I don't even have to research cool and upcoming things anymore. I just have podcast guests come and tell me about it.
And then you go to your new conference.
Yeah, exactly. Yep. All right. Awesome. Well, thank you
Awesome.
so much, Nathan. This was a lot of fun. Thank you, everyone that tuned in. I hope you guys have a good weekend. And I think I have, I don't know when my next podcast is. I should probably know this.
Are you actually going to shoot? Are you going to record one over Thanksgiving break?
No, so Thanksgiving is not happening. And then the following week, I got Jose coming on.
Nice.
So
Oh, that's right. I didn't want to follow him. I'm very glad he's coming.
oh, no one would notice. You'd be fine. But Jose is always a fun guest to have on, and we'll get to dive in more of his Tidewave project. So I think that'll be cool,
Nice.
and maybe
And then you get to
types
ask him
and
about types. Yeah.
yeah, yeah,
Big topic. Probably the first type system I've ever been cautiously optimistic about. I'm
yeah.
looking forward to it.
Yeah, I agree. But I also have become, I used to be a TypeScript guy and I thought it was like so important. And then when I got into Elixir, I was like, well, maybe types don't matter that much. So I actually like the way it's being implemented more of like warning level than syntax breaking or
Mhm.
compile breaking. Like,
And no extra syntax. You don't have
yeah,
to type
exactly.
new things. Like the ceremony of types is just so expensive. And you do it 100% of the time to solve 5% of your problems, maybe 10.
I
If
know.
but you have to do it all the time because you can't just do it the 10% of the time it matters because it's an all or nothing kind of thing.
Yeah. But then like also in the JavaScript world, I understand why TypeScript has to be a thing because it's such a mess.
Y- Yeah, that's fair. I don't know that TypeScript is solving the problem for JavaScript.
It
I
probably
think that
is not.
there are a lot of JavaScript problems that could be solved without types.
Yeah, fair.
My biggest beef with types and people who like types is they assume types solve problems they don't actually solve.
Yeah, yeah. Yeah, it's fair.
Like
I think it's like
type
it's
programs are
just
faster. Well, type programs are compiled. It's compilation that makes it faster, not the types.
right. I think it's just for people to fill in their OCD needs.
I do think people like a level of certainty.
Yeah,
I mean, don't we all as engineers?
for sure. We all got grazed with the tism a little bit.
That's right.
All right. Thanks a lot, Nathan. This was a lot of fun. All right.
Yeah,
See you
it was a
guys.
pleasure. Thank you.
Testing.